Hi guys. So now that that's out of the way, now that I've said the things I felt I needed to say, I can get on to the draft preview. Now, there was some interesting stuff in this. They get into Dawn in the Desert and the idea that your early draft picks can say something for how your team turns out. Pat Falloon and Ray Whitney. Interestingly enough, Whitney was drafted in large part because he was Falloon's line mate, so that'll work out well for Falloon. Whitney was the smart draft pick there. Falloon was a decent player, but yeah. And they talk about the number one draft picks overall. They have a countdown. I'm going to get into this in a future video as well, where they count down the top drafts of all time. They only go up to 2010. I think anything after 2010 they say is too recent for them to really get into. So for anybody waiting for them to just slaughter 2012 or 2011, no. They talk about Nolan Patrick. They talk about Hischier. They talk about Patrick versus Hischier. This season reminds me a lot of Taylor versus Tyler. Taylor Hall, Tyler Seguin. And in retrospect, both guys were traded. The perception is they were traded for less than what they were worth. And in Boston's case, I can understand why people feel that way. I never really did, but that's a whole other video. And I can understand why people feel that way about what Edmonton did as well. And again, and I said this last summer, I felt like the signing of Lucic was allowed to take place because they got rid of Hall. So I felt like Lucic was taking that top 6 spot, and they had to make room, so they traded out Hall. And then there was talk about Eberle, but Eberle wouldn't have got you Adam Larson. Jersey wasn't interested in Eberle, they wanted Hall. So, but that's a debate for another time. They talk about Makar. I assume it's Makar. And how he's a smaller defenseman. But they've got him as the top defenseman. They rank him as 5th. So it's interesting because the Hockey News gets it wrong too. Everybody does. So that being said, they've got Patrick at 1st. They've got Hischier at 2nd. They've got Velarde at 3rd. Mittelstadt at 4th. Makar at 5th. Heiskanen at 6th, which would be interesting. So we would have Vancouver drafting Makar. And they say there's a high likelihood Makar is first defenseman taken in the draft. The fact he's relatively small indicates the quality of his skill set and changing attitudes towards NHL protection. He's going to excel at every level because he wants it so bad, said one scout. He's a good kid, and I'd be shocked if he didn't go top 10. He has a bit of a mean streak. He's 5'10", but doesn't play that way. A 5'10" defenseman is a risk. And I know what Ryan Ellis does, and I know there's Stetcher in Vancouver, but Vancouver, with the loss of Trampkin, is going to want a bigger defenseman. So I think if Vancouver was in this position and they had the choice between Makar or Heiskanen, I think Heiskanen would be the one they take. They have Tippett at 7th. They have Rasmussen at 8th. And then they have best case of who they turn into. And this is really interesting. They have Elias Pettersson, Cody Glass, and I'm not going to get into best case because it's not that interesting. I don't even know. I think they just basically take dice and whoever's name matches whatever comes up on the 20-sided die, they just go, oh yeah, he's going to match that guy. It's the reason I don't get into that. Like, for instance, Cody Glass, they say his best case is Mark Scheifele. What are you basing that on? Elias Pettersson, best case Henrik Zetterberg. Is that just because he's Swedish? Michael Rasmussen, best case James Van Riemsdyk. So, shouldn't be drafted ahead of Zetterberg and Scheifele? Or does that mean these guys have a lower ceiling and that's just, well, I don't know, he could be Scheifele, but he's probably not going to be. And Tolvanen, they say his best case is Kucherov. So Tolvanen should go top 5 then. See, it's just, to me, it's just weird. Martin Necas, or Nekash, probably Nekash. Nick Suzuki. Klim Kostin. And then they've got Liljegren at 15th. even though the International Scouting Services has him at 8th. I still think Liljegren is the one the Canucks have their eyes on. Something tells me. He's 6 foot, 192 pounds. We'll see. Cal Foote has been talked about a lot on my channel. A lot of people like if he plays like his dad, they should, whoever should take a shot at him. If he's drafted this late, and the Leafs are drafting at 17th, the Flames are drafting at 16th, I could see a swap of picks for Toronto to pick him. Absolutely. Ryan Poling is at 17. Valimaki's at 18. Maxime Comtois is at 19. His upside is Brandon Saad. After him is Isaac Ratcliffe, whose upside is Kevin Hayes. Christian Vesalainen. His upside is Alex Killorn. Nick Hague has an upside of Ben Hutton. That's a weird one. Ben Hutton is really... You have a specific skill set for Ben Hutton? I love Ben Hutton as a Canuck fan. I'm just wondering what that specific skill set is for Ben Hutton. Elias Anderson. Kaylor Yamamoto. Who they say his best case is Connor Sheary. So this is just because of his size? Or skill set? Weird. Strange. I'm looking for the really, really weird one. There's a really, really strange one in here. This one. Nikita Papagayev. 6'6", 202 pounds. Coming out of Prince George. At 6'6", 202 pounds, he may be 3 or 4 members of the Prince George Cougars melded into one beast, sort of like a Voltron kind of figure. They say his best case is Mikhail Grigorenko. So best case, don't draft him. I don't understand that one. That one I looked at and I was like, really? Best case? Because Grant Mismash, they have him as best case Boone Jenner, and he's supposed to be drafted 2 places after. Grigorenko is not somebody that should be a best case. And Grigorenko is still young enough he can turn his career around, but he should not be a best case scenario for anybody right now. That's weird. That's strange. So for people who've wondered when I'm going to do a video on the draft, that's coming. What I usually do is I'll go through the Hockey News draft preview. For the record, Joni Ikonen is the number 60 pick, and they say his best case is Tyler Johnson. So this is a pretty damn good draft according to these guys. And then Ian Scott is number 62. They go right down to 62. He's a goaltender playing for the Prince Albert Raiders, and they say his best case is Corey Crawford. So multiple Stanley Cups if you draft this kid. I don't understand. I don't get it. Michael DiPietro, a goaltender. Best case, Jonathan Quick. All they had to do was put DiPietro was his upside, and I would have been absolutely over the moon with that. But they just didn't do it. They chickened out. So we'll see how this draft works out. And I keep hearing weak draft, and there's not very many really good players in it, and so I'll get into that too. But I'll be interested to know what for you guys especially you guys who watch the junior hockey, watch the CHL, who've gotten to see these games live. Grigorenko? What the hell? Anyways, I'll be interested to know your ideas, because to me the whole thing is kind of when we are projecting out 18-year-olds, it's hard enough to project who the top 10 are out of 300 eligible kids. But to not only say these are the best eligible, and they project to look exactly like that guy, is so weird. Because it's very rare for me to watch a player and go, wow, he plays exactly like some other guy. Unless they're playing exactly like their dad. Then you go, yeah, I remember. That's part of the reason why Ryan Suter, Gary Suter, I make that mistake. Because there's a lot in Ryan Suter's game that reminds me of Gary Suter. I know, it's not his dad. I'm just saying, like, just related. Just stop. It's hot today. Be nice. It's hot. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And I realize there's no jersey on me right now because it's hot. It's hot out. It's too early to be hot out. This is ridiculous. absolutely ridiculous. I plan to file a grievance. So if I'm going to do a jersey video later, it'll have to be outside. So it'll have to be after the game, because the game tonight is going to be fantastic. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to y'all again soon.